Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. Look what we've got here. We've been working on a FLASH Pinball Machine for our buddy James, and we got his all ready to go on a previous video. Go check that out. We also have a PinBot here that we've been working on. Got it ready to go. But look, we have yet another flash that we need to work on. So our buddy Rodney brought us his flash that he's having issues with. He just bought this, he gets it home, and it starts acting up. So unfortunately, he didn't buy it from us, but unfortunately we don't make house calls. There's just two of us, so we just can't reliably do it, you know. That's actually a lot harder than it seems. You have to make sure you got the right parts and be able to work in somebody's house, and all of that is hard to do. So we just have people bring the machines to us. So he was kind enough to bring us his machine, and so we're going to see if we can fix it for him. I know we will, right? So we're going to see what's wrong with it. Now he, like I said, he just picked it up. I like Flash. It's a cool game, and I just fixed one. So I figured now would be the best time to work on this one while it's still fresh in my mind. Maybe I'll remember how to fix it. So we're going to try it, just to see what it's doing ahead of time. Now, he and I already tried it the other day, so I already looked in it to see what was going on. And while we were sitting here watching it, the thing died. So just now the displays flashed and then went back off. So let's try that again. Okay, so this time it came on. But like I said the other day, same thing happened. Came up for a minute and then it died. So you just saw it, right? So it's crashing. That ain't good. You got to have them reliable. We need it to do this. We need it to sit here and purr. Now this thing is obviously in the track mode. All the lights are moving and everything. We need that on this one. And it's not just the displays. If you hit start, nothing's going on. You can also tell because none of the lights are working. The thing is locked up. It's just the CPU has died is what's going on. So when you turn it off back on, sometimes it'll come back up. Sometimes it won't. It's just, it's not steady. So that's where we're starting, and we can see how, what I think I'll do is I'm going to start like I always do at the wall, and then we'll work through it. And as I replace each part, we'll try it again and see if that's what fixed it. So my theory is that if the foundation of the electronics isn't working good, it won't be reliable. So what I mean by that is the power coming in from the wall, and then the power coming out of the power supply, and then the connector coming off the power supply, and then the connector going into the MPU, and then the MPU connecting to the driver board, and then the driver board connecting to all the lights and everything. So you kind of need to do it in order. So I'm going to take the back glass off. Let's look at what's going on inside of it, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so this one has perhaps the strangest problem I've ever seen. Okay, now a lot of stuff hasn't been fixed on it that I would do. There's a lot of stuff on the power supply that hasn't been done, but look at this. What is that? That is the main power connector to the MPU has popped off the board. Now here's what's weird about it. The same damn thing happened the other day. So I was sitting there talking to Rodney when he dropped it off, and whenever I opened it back up after it crashed, that power connector was loose. And you just saw it boot up, right? And the connector popped off. What in the world is that? So let's turn it off. The reason that you still heard sound is because the sound gets its power from the power supply and doesn't need the MPU. So that's stuck on there pretty good. It's got to be George. George is doing it. This is so interesting. I'm going to go get the tripod and set it up where we're just staring at the connector, and then see if we can actually catch it popping off the popping off the board. This is nuts. I've never seen one do this. Maybe we'll get George on film, probably. I mean, finally. Okay, so let's see if I wiggle the head, if that makes it pop off. Because we moved it around. That's not making it pop off. Let's see if it's when you open the door. No. Oh, look. See the socket up there? Maybe that socket's catching it, because it is kind of... No. No, it doesn't get anywhere near it. That can't be it. Huh. Well, let's turn it on. Booted right up. It booted up. Now you saw what happened. It failed on us. And then I turned it off and back on. It came right up and then failed on us again. And then I opened the door and the freaking board was unplugged. Now, look, I don't swear to God, because I don't think that's right. I'm not going to swear on anything, right? But I'm telling you, I'm telling the truth. I opened the door, the freaking board was disconnected, and this has happened twice now. I wonder if I just wiggle the connector, if it'll pop loose. Let's try to wiggle it. If I can reach it. I want to reach it where you can still see it. Let me hit it with something. Let's hit it with something. Well, it's going to be my greatest video yet. Now, when he brought it to me, what was happening was it wouldn't kick the ball out. But then when we were standing there, it died. Look, I got a broom handle. What happens if you just touch it? I don't know, people. Huh. I have no clue. After a while, it seems that thing will pop off. So that'll be interesting. We'll work on the power supply first and then worry about that later. Let me turn it off and back on a couple times just to make sure that the electricity doesn't somehow do it. Came right back up. Came right back up. All right, we'll keep our eye on that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do though, let's check out this power supply. All right, so here's the power supply. If you watched our video on the previous flash, we had this white and red wire that we had a problem with the connector on. That's what the original one would have looked like. That's for the flippers. And then there was also this connector on the other one that was messed up, but someone has either replaced this or this one was just done different. This is with a 9-pin connector. The other one was just a 3-pin. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull out the power supply. There's just a couple things I want to recap some of it, and I want to replace this big filter capacitor, because all of that kind of stuff has to do with reliability. But I mean, our problem may end up being this connector, which was not loose when I just pressed it. Might be the connector, people. But we're going to try to make it a little more reliable, and one of the major things with that is this cap here. So let me pop that board out and we'll put it on the bench and work on it just a little bit. Okay, folks, so the rule is, okay, I'm going to look at this board and I'm going to tell you what I want to do different and what I'm going to do different. And I've already told you somebody just worked on it, okay? I am in no way criticizing the guy that just worked on this or the girl that just worked on this. Because from what I understand, they went out to the guy's house and was fixing it in their house, which I was just talking about earlier. That's not easy to do, and you know, I'm not all about tearing other people down. The guy or the girl that did it probably, or could very well, know a hell of a lot more than me about this, and they got it up and running at somebody's house, which is pretty impressive. So I'm going to do things different than they would, but that's not to say that my way is the only way to do it. It's just the way I'm going to do it because I'm working on it. And I've got the luxury of doing that here in my shop. Okay, so things that I would change. I'm going to change, looks like they changed one of the caps for the high voltage. There's a negative 100 and a positive 100. They changed one of the caps. I'm going to go ahead and change both of them. I think I've even got the right ones now, the axial ones. This is a radial. So it's the wrong cap, but I do that all the time too. If you don't have the right one, you don't have the right one. I'm going to replace this one. There's a little one here I'm going to replace. Little tantalum cap. And then I'm going to replace Big Papa here, if I've got one. It's a 12,000 microfarad 16 volt. And then I'm also going to replace these two diodes here. You see just how hot they're getting? They're a little undersized. So they're just rectifier diodes. We're going to put some big old beefy ones on there. These two diodes are fine. This is one of the early power supplies that has these capacitors on it. It's just something they had in the display voltage circuit, I think, or in the, let's see. Yeah, it has something to do with the keep alive voltage, I think. But those you never have to change. I guess if they're shorted or something, you would. And then there's stuff you can do here that some people choose to do and some people do not. There are these little diodes that you can change that are 100 volt. You can lower them to 91 volt. And there's also some resistors here that often go out of spec. So we might mess with that a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do is change those capacitors. On the back, it looks like someone has resoldered all of the pins on the connectors. So that's good. If that hasn't been done, that's a good thing to do too, because they break loose over time. But it looks like somebody's already done that, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so let me swap a few caps, and then I'll show you what we come up with. Okay, so this is actually very similar to the Bally solenoid driver board. This is the section that creates the 5 volts. So the most important thing that you need to do is replace that capacitor, because it's, like I said, it's a 12,000. I put a 15,000 in it. We do the same thing on the Bally rectifier boards. The reason that's important is because it takes in 12 volts, and then it puts out 5 volts. It regulates it down to 5 volts. And this capacitor is what filters it. So if this capacitor starts slipping, your voltage gets too low, or it's got a little swim in it. You're letting a little AC through on your DC. I had someone reply to one of my videos the other day. I was talking about an audio circuit or something, and I was doing this with my hand. And they replied and criticized that it would not be like that. It would be a square wave. So they want me to do this with my hand. These are the type of comments I get, people. Some people take themselves way too seriously. YouTube has proven that to me. Okay, I also replaced these two little diodes, which I'm told is half wave rectification or something like that. It says P300A. But let me tell you what I figured out about diodes. The really old ones are obsolete. So they make new ones that do everything these old ones do. There must have been a price thing going on. So they put a P300A in there. I'll bet you they don't make P300As anymore. Somebody go check. We'll wait. Put the comments down below. It's a P300A. But you can replace it with like anything in this instance. So what I use is, it's kind of overkill, but I use a 6A4 diode, which is much bigger. But the reason I use those is because I bought like 500 of them real cheap. They're literally like a nickel each or something like that. And I put that on everything. So if I've got any kind of like rectifying diode that's big that I need to run some juice through, I put one of those on it. So it's the date code on it is 1178. So November of 78. They made this little sucker. And you might say, well, why'd you change it if it's still working? Because they start to leak, from what I understand. They get leaky. And again, you're turning AC into DC. So you don't want this. You want beep. Woo! Did y'all know that all the good things in life are free? All right, you don't even have to pay for that. Okay, so I got the diodes, I got the thing, and by the way, look at my little job here. See, it's not the right one. It's not the axial one. I need to put a little glue on it so it doesn't wobble. Okay, now, normally, I would check all this when I put it in to see what before I plug everything up. But on this one, it was already working, so if it is off, it was already screwed up, whatever it's going to screw up, all right? But we'll test it. And so whenever we plugged it in, the ball wouldn't kick out, which I think could be, I think this is the solenoid fuse, and I'll bet that sucker's blown. And it looks like, or maybe it's this one, it looks like it's a fast acting instead of a slow blow. So if it's a fast acting and it's supposed to be a slow blow, it may have blown just because it's the wrong type of fuse. Let's see if it's blown. That one's good. That one's good. Blown bigger than hell. So what in the world is this fuse? So they very well could have just put the wrong fuse in. Wouldn't that be great if I got that lucky? But I don't know that it takes a slow blow. I'm going to go check. I believe it does. I don't see what size it is. All right, let me figure out what size it is and that. And then I also, like I said, I want to replace a couple things on the high voltage area. And I was talking about how this is a lot like a Bally. On a Bally rectifier board, the voltage regulator is up here. And then the whole bottom half of the board is the solenoids, because the little drivers for the solenoids. On a Williams, all of that is over on a different board, the driver board. And then on a Bally, the top left hand is the display voltage. And that's exactly where it is on the Williams too. So they're actually very similar. They did the same thing, just slightly different ways. Let's see about this fuse though. Okay, so in the high voltage section, I had to go look it up to see if I could remember it. These are 680 ohm resistors, half watt. Williams put out a bulletin saying to upgrade those to 1.2K ohm resistors. So that's a good idea, half watt. These are 39K ohm resistors. It's a good idea to check those just to make sure they're fine, and they are in this. These, well, no, these are Zener diodes that are what basically they're 100 volt Zener diodes. So they make the voltage 100 volt and a negative 100 volt to make the display work. Some people will replace these with 91 volt Zener diodes. It's a 1N4763 instead of a 1N4764, I believe, to make it 91 volts. And the reason they're doing that is to try to prolong the life of the displays. But the thing is, it makes them slightly dimmer. And if you have old displays that are on kind of their wobbly legs, if you lower that voltage, you might get a couple displays that don't look so hot anymore. So I never do that. I just leave them 100. But that's what is suggested to do to the high voltage. Now for the fuse, it's a 2.5 slow blow. And this is not a slow blow. This is a fast blow. It's an AGC. That's a fast blow. So we need a 2.5 amp fuse. That may have been the whole problem with why it wouldn't kick the ball out when he started the game. So basically, with the exception of upgrading our 680s to 1.2Ks, we're pretty much done on here. I like cleaning these up just so they make good contact. This is where the 5 volts plugs in. This is where the high voltage for the displays plugs in. If you've got a bad connection here, it could also do things like make the game reset. If this is tripping, it could also do things like make the game reset like ours was doing. But ours very well could have been that connector popping off. So I'm going to put the right fuse in it, and then we're going to go pop it back in the game and see if it, make sure it comes back up, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so I popped the board back in it. Let's see if she boots up. came right up. And with the 2.5 amp slow blow fuse in there, let's see if she'll start. Yep. Okay, so the ball bounced out and went back in, but came back. It seems like it's a little flat to me, so I think like the front legs are up a little bit too high. I'd probably lower the front legs a little bit. Maybe the back legs are all right, but interesting, very, very interesting. So the coolest part of this game is the figure 8 shot, right? Look at that. It don't line up. We got to fix that. What was that? Did it blow our fuse? My flippers are still working. Yep, it blew the fuse again. So basically, it is still scoring, but none of the solenoids can work. So the flippers can work because they come off of the. We looked at this in the last video too. The flippers will work because the wire comes right off of that bridge rectifier underneath the power supply. But there's another wire that goes up to the power supply and goes through that fuse. Well, there's nothing on the power supply except that fuse that has anything to do with the solenoid voltage. So something on the playfield is causing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the video back and see what just happened. It looked to me like when I dropped one of these drop targets, maybe even that one, that it went boom, which is the soundboard, which by the way is also ran off of the solenoid voltage. Boom, and then something flashed or something shorted. So there's some kind of problem going on. Maybe it's the reset for those or something, but something is definitely still blowing the fuse. So that's next. We'll figure it out. So how would we track that down? We're going to look under it, pull the playfield up, and look and see if we see any maybe switch wires touching a solenoid somewhere or something like that. There's something weird going on. Okay, folks, so it's been a day or two, and I decided to work on this again. That connector was still on there, but it was about halfway off. So I guess it's just squeezing it off. We'll look at that later in a later video. But what I did was I took the glass off and I popped the playfield up, and I just looked under it to see if anything jumped out at me. And so I didn't notice anything crazy. It's all a little dirty and stuff down there. All the light bulbs look like they hadn't been changed or hadn't been in a while. So I went ahead and changed all of those. I do have one here. It looks like it isn't lighting up. But I think all the other ones are. That's probably just a loose socket or something. But I want to go into the solenoid test so we can figure out what's going on with that. I looked in this area and did not see any kind of shorts or anything that looked bad. So how do you figure out which one's which? Well, there's a couple ways you can do it. I've put this little circuit breaker on here. I've got these little circuit breakers that have a fuse on them. The fuse is blown, but they'll fit in a fuse holder. And you put a circuit breaker on there if it's the same amperage. It's supposed to be a 2.5 amp, but I don't have one, so I put a 3 amp on it. So I put that in there, and now we can just go into solenoid test. Whew, what happened? I wonder if that was that wire there making that happen. Didn't something just freaking click? All right, so you can go into solenoid test and test the solenoids, and one of them will blow the fuse. So we're going to watch it and see which one blows it. none of them are immediately blowing it. Interesting. Okay, well, maybe we can go into switch test and see if it was something on those drop targets. Maybe it kind of, I guess I need to review the tape, but it seemed like I hit the drop targets and it did it. I didn't register because the drop targets usually need rebuilding on these Williams games. 29, 28. I don't know. 23, that one sticks. 22, that one sticks. 21, spinner. 17, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 9, 33, 38. Drop targets definitely need rebuilt. 36, 35, 17, 44. Wait a minute, I think I did this before. I think 17 is actually the spinner, right? Yeah, if your spinner ends up in a weird spot, it'll keep triggering over and over again. 44, 43, 45, 46. The kickers aren't going to work in switch test, I don't believe. .41 is the left one. Yeah, I don't see anything forcing it to blow. Let's see if it blew while we were messing with that and I didn't hear it. Nope, looks fine. I don't know, folks. I guess we'll have to play it. I tested all of the coils with a multimeter. None of them are shorted, but it could be something like a diode is shorted. Might have blown. Nope. Okay. Wasn't it something right around that area? Maybe it's the flippers. Now when you get something like that, what's going on is the vibration from the flippers is making some switch somewhere connect. So you're getting points just from hitting the flipper. It's probably one of these rollovers. Harder to play with one hand. Everybody knows that. Okay, let's go back and look at the slow motion video from earlier and see what blew the fuse. Now that I have the I have a circuit breaker in it. I've been playing it, and I can't get it to do it again. But that doesn't mean that it won't. So I'm just going to keep playing it and messing with it. So I went through and replaced all the light bulbs, got all of them going except for this one. Oh, it came back. All right, so I believe we got all the light bulbs doing their thing, but this machine needs a bunch of stuff like kind of set up on it. So things just don't flow right. The ball bounces down here. It doesn't do the little figure 8 thing right. Some of the switches aren't reliably scoring. The drop targets aren't reliably scoring. The flippers seem a little loose. Might have to rebuild some of that. So it needs a lot of work done to it still, and we need to watch that. So we'll do another video where we kind of go through how to set one up to play a little better. And then we'll probably also touch up this paint a little bit here, make it look a little better. So leave your comments below. What do you think so far? Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. We appreciate everybody that does that. Now, hey, do you want to know how you can help our channel out if you enjoy these videos? If you ever find yourself buying something on Amazon, we have a link down below to Amazon that has like our, basically our identifier in it. So if you go through our link to Amazon, it gives us a reward basically for sending you to Amazon. And so anything you buy on Amazon, we get like 3% of. So if you want to support our channel, we appreciate everybody that's been doing that. Thank you. So join us next time. Like I said, we'll try to set it up a little better and get it to play a little smoother and keep our eye on that solenoid that's somehow driving, somehow blowing the fuse. It may be the driver on the driver board is just screwing up or something. I don't know. We'll keep watching it. I want to see if it's always that one that blows it. And if I keep filming it while I'm playing it, I should be able to figure it out. But I've played like 10 games since then, and that resets and everything just fine. Boom. Right? And if that solenoid, solenoid fuse blows, you will also lose all of your sounds because the solenoid lines drive the sounds, or I believe you'll lose all your sounds. I guess we'll figure it out. Yeah, I did it earlier in the video. So I'll keep watching that. Now, last but not least, don't forget about my brother Donnie. If you don't know about my brother Donnie, he has a channel here on YouTube. If you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you would probably enjoy he and I working on old buildings, old cars, old trucks, things like that. So go check it out. We've got a couple buildings that we've bought in a small town near here that we're trying to fix up to help revitalize their downtown area. So we've filmed a lot of that, and we're playing those videos over on his channel. So I'll see you there, and I'll see you on the next episode of Let's Repair a Flash or Two. I think that one we did in one video. This one is going to be a 2-video one, but that'll be all right. We'll see you on the next one.